and reduce the interest that they're paying on the bonds.
All right.
Now, still staying with the impact show, now the government has been challenged to spur local production to make it easier for the local economy to recover. Experts are also urging the government to tame corruption by ensuring that all borrowed funds go towards development and not to benefit individuals.
Our constitution only allows government to borrow for development. And by the way, government doesn't have money that we call this is government money. It's taxpayers' money and loans and grants. For loans, they are borrowed on behalf of the taxpayers. So when I see the sort of damages we've even seen, we are already in a bad situation, but we've already damaged, a lot of our economy. Repairing that, even the figures that CS Murkomen was mentioning, that's not going to come from government money. Government doesn't have a kitty called this is government, doesn't generate its own money.
Yes.
Those are taxpayers' money. That is what's going to be. So, and that's going to be loaded because the government has to generate it from the taxpayers. So let's just, we can actually expect that's going to be loaded back to the taxpayers to make the repairs of, the different components of the economy that we have damaged. So that is not a bad thing. It's the value you get from, if you borrow $100, do you get $200 in value after 1 year, for instance? But if after 1 year the value you get is just $50 and you borrowed 100, you are deepening yourself in debt. Yeah. That is what we need to question. Now, but my last point is let's always remember that in political turmoils, there is always an expansionary tendency of government to widen the government. All right? In peaceful times, governments tend to run a little lean. That is something I've observed because when there is animosity, you want to, to please different sides so that you bring them to your corner as the ruling government, and that normally tends to expand the government, and hence what Mushai was talking about. What is the cost of government? We would not be here. Even the proposals for the cabinet administrative secretaries, that is a political decision to ensure that there is inclusivity. Yet our constitution already defines how we get inclusive in government. Why then do you create newer positions?
Yes.
It's because there is political animosity and you want to, to sort of stabilize the country by expanding the government. That's what normally leads to, a high cost of running government.
Okay. To relook at the government budgets, the budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024 is about 3.6 trillion.
Yes.
There are areas where the government can cut on cost. So if you can cut on cost, you can carry out some austerity measures in areas where that is possible. We'll reduce our budget deficit.
Okay.
And that will reduce our borrowing.
Okay.
So if you're able to reduce our borrowing, at least we'll start addressing this issue of debt. But we also need to invest on our industries so that we can cut down whatever we can produce locally. We should produce locally. But now we are in a situation where we are even importing basic foodstuff, grocery from our neighboring countries. We can produce this locally.
Okay.
When you talked about our currency depreciating against our
ESA counterparts.
Yes, and yeah, it's because we import a lot from them. What we can produce locally, what we used to produce locally. I don't know what changed.
Okay.
In every fiscal year's budget, we always have a budget for irrigation. Even I looked at the current budget, we've allocated some reasonable amount of money for irrigation. But if you move around the country, since 1963, we've been budgeting for irrigation. But if you look at the irrigation coverage around the country, I don't know where this money has been going. So
now, at least 12 traders from the toy market who lost their wares in the June 11th